What is retatrutide? What if one molecule, a single compound, could talk to three completely different receptors in your body at the same time? And what if each of those conversations unlocked a separate, completely different pathway to transform your metabolism? Well, this is not scientific. That's retatrutide. And I want to talk to you through exactly what it is, how it works, and why it represents something generally different from anything we've seen before in the world of metabolic medicine. Now, I believe retatrutide may be one of the biggest medical breakthroughs of our lifetime because I've been in the peptide regenerative medicine space for over 2 decades and have watched the evolution of these compounds firsthand from the early days, these single agonists, all the way to what we have now in front of us with retatrutide. And every step of that journey has taught us something important about how the human body actually handles weight, metabolism, and energy. And so before we talk about what retatrutide does, let's talk about where it came from, because understanding the history makes the biology make sense, well, to me anyway. So here's a question I get all the time. How is retatrutide different from semaglutide or tirzepatide? Aren't they basically the same thing? And those of you who have been on my channel for a while, I really appreciate you for being here. And you know that they're completely different molecules, especially when you combine them together. So if you think about the GLP-1 receptor, that was identified as a therapeutic target. You go way back into the 80s when researchers discovered that glucagon-like peptide 1 had this powerful effect on insulin secretion and appetite. First generation drugs based everything on this. So there's liraglutide and then semaglutide, and they work by targeting that single GLP-1 receptor. One receptor, one conversation. And the results were meaningful. People were losing 10 to 15% of their body weight, and that was revolutionary at the time, but there was a ceiling. There was only so much you could achieve through one receptor before the biology hits its limit, and then the side effects started to unravel everything. And so the scientists started asking, well, what if we could have 2 conversations at once? And that's where tirzepatide came in. So this is a dual agonist, a GLP-1 and a GIP. And it was developed by Eli Lilly, 2 receptors, simultaneous signals. The results improved significantly. And so we started seeing this 20+% of weight loss in clinical trials. And the scientific community was genuinely excited. The researchers didn't stop. They said, what if there's a 3rd receptor? And now you've got a 4th receptor, and that will come out soon. But what if they handled a completely different piece of that metabolic puzzle? Because your metabolism is not just about appetite. It's so much more complex. And this led them to develop what's called retatrutide. And it's known by its research designation, LY3437943. But retatrutide is this triple agonist. It's a GLP-1, a GIP, and glucagon. 3 receptors, 3 conversations simultaneously from one molecule. And those 3 conversations do something fundamentally different in your body, which is what makes this compound so remarkable. So I'm Regan Archibald, founder of Ageless Future. And I love studying peptides because I found they create leverage in the body. They don't accumulate like a small molecule drug. You're able to get the right input at the right cell type. And the way that we structure protocols is getting blood labs ran. So if you're somebody who wants to go deeper and find out exactly what peptides are going to be best for your physiology, go to agelessfuture.com. We'll get your blood labs ran there. So if you think of retatrutide, it's not just another GLP-1 drug. And so you want to understand it categorically, it's something totally different. And this is after 40 years of incremental science, each generation asking a smarter question than the last. And then if you look at what those conversations look like inside your body, when you start adding in multiple conversations, this is where I find it gets pretty fascinating. So the first receptor, GLP-1, this is a glucagon-like peptide 1. And you probably heard of this because retatrutide, it activates the GLP-1 receptor, it does suppress the appetite centrally in the brain. It improves insulin secretion in a glucose-dependent way. And it slows down gastric emptying, so food stays in your stomach longer. That means you feel full faster, you eat less, your blood sugar doesn't spike and crash. And that's the GLP-1 doing its job. And if it's too strong, you're going to get some issues. And so now we go to the second receptor, and this is where they saw fewer side effects, and this is GIP. And this is known as a glucose-dependent insulinotropic polypeptide. And here's something that most people don't fully appreciate is retatrutide, its activity at the GIP receptor is 8.9 times more potent than your body's own GIP ligand. So if you think about that, it's almost 9 times stronger at that receptor level than what your body produces. And this means you're going to get insulin into the cell. So if you've ever been told you're insulin resistant, or maybe you have brain fog if you get hungry or you have hanger, you're going to need this GIP because it enhances the satiety signaling in the gut and the brain. It supports healthy nutrient partitioning. And then the calories you eat, they're directed towards muscle instead of fat. And it compounds the appetite-suppressing impact of the GLP-1 arm. So the third receptor, this is where I think it gets fun. This is the performance-based receptor, and everything gets reset here. And this is known as glucagon. And glucagon is thought of as this counter-regulatory hormone to insulin. It's the one that raises blood sugar. So a lot of us, if you have hypoglycemia, which I tend to run really low blood sugar, this has helped stabilize my blood sugar. And so the glucagon receptor does something most people overlook. It drives hepatic fatty acid oxidation. So if you think of one of the biggest diseases that's going on is fatty liver disease, you're going to start burning the fat in your liver, and that will reduce lipogenesis or the creation of new fat tissue. And then you're increasing your energy expenditure and thermogenesis. So for those of you who are cold, retatrutide may be the solution. And make sure you get your thyroid checked too. But what happens when you give your body all 3 signals simultaneously? Well, you reduce your food intake, you optimize what you absorb, and then you dramatically increase what you burn. So you're going to be burning more energy just watching this video. And that's what the clinical trial set out to measure. And by the way, the numbers are pretty amazing and it's changed everything. So let's talk about the data in clinical medicine. In phase 2 clinical trials, participants taking the highest dose of retatrutide, the 12 milligrams per week as a weekly injection, they lost over 24.2% of their body weight in 48 weeks. Now, the newest study that came out, they lost 28% of their body weight in that same period of time. That's the TRIUMPH-4 study. At the 8 milligram dose, there was a 22.8% loss, and they weren't having surgery. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about this. They were not on some extreme dietary intervention or protocol. It's a weekly injection targeting these receptors simultaneously. And in the study, it's called the triple hormone receptor agonist, and this was a phase 2 trial. And that was a great study. But then last year, the TRIUMPH-4 trial was completed. And that's what I was mentioning earlier, 28.7% of mean body reduction. That's approaching the results you would only achieve historically with bariatric surgery. So this triple agonist, retatrutide, it delivered weight loss on average of 71.2 pounds or 32.3 kilograms for Europeans and Canadians. But along with that came substantial relief from osteoarthritis. And it was very successful to the point where 76% of participants had a significant reduction in their pain. So weight's just one marker, but what happens downstream? And this is where you look at the meta-analysis data and it tells a more complete story. So participants saw an average reduction of their body mass index by 5.3 points. Waist circumference nearly dropped 10.5 centimeters. So get a new belt. Fasting glucose dropped 23.5 milligrams per deciliter. And hemoglobin A1C, that long-term, that's 90-day snapshot of your blood sugar, it dropped by nearly a full percentage point. Blood pressure also improved by 10 points on systolic and 4 points diastolic. And so with patients with metabolic-associated steatotic liver disease or fatty liver disease, the reductions in hepatic fat were dramatic. And so this is a compound that's just not moving a number on the scale. It's restructuring your entire metabolic health. And what that glucagon does, for those of you energy junkies like myself, you think it turns on this gene called PGC1 alpha, so you get more mitochondrial biogenesis. That's where that energy expenditure comes from. And so if you love this video, I appreciate that, and leave us a comment. I want to see what your thoughts are on retatrutide. And I've got other videos, so provide a link in the show note below on why is retatrutide not FDA approved. We'll also talk about how it compares with tirzepatide. So all you need to do is go to the show notes below. I'm Regan Archibald. I'll see you on the next video.